Welcome back on coldemonspl. It's time for a new project. I'm back to German Panzers, so for today I decided to start with this beast. Yes, I know it's not a perfect model and it has some weak points, even very weak points, but I managed to build it. You can see the result in today's episode. In the beginning I started with cutting trucks out of the frames. I grouped them into 3 separate boxes to reduce the space occupied by unnecessary plastic, and it will also make it easier for me to work on them later. I also took out the rest of the parts from the frames as there are relatively few of them. Besides, they are quite characteristic, so making mistakes cannot happen. I built the undercarriage parts right away and glued both parts of the hull together. A bit out of sequence according to the instructions, but it's not complicated. Obviously I used CA glue as not to waste time waiting for the glue to dry and catch a strong bond between the parts. Someone may be surprised that I wiped this glue with my finger, but in general I'm so used to working with it that it doesn't impress me when a bit is on the skin. Despite appearances, it crumbles off the fingers quite quickly. Completing the trucks required some way to build them quickly. The way you can see it now was quite fast for plastic trucks. They were supposed to be movable, but I didn't really believe it from the very beginning. Maybe if I spent 2 or 3 times more it would be, but I don't think it was worth it. While even before construction I was wondering whether to leave the entire chassis unbuilt, I already knew when assembling the trucks that it would be glued as a whole and thus prepared for painting. There should be no problems painting the wheels because they don't have rubber bandages. More work will be done with the trucks once they are glued to the chassis, but that's what I will worry about when I reach for the paints. Now the most important thing is to properly shape the trucks on the wheels. And there was a problem. The idler wheel cannot be adjusted. In my opinion, this is a big mistake made by producer because I'm sure that a less experienced modeler may have some problems. Maybe that's why we don't see too much of this vehicle built from the Takom set. Who knows? The first basic gluing was done with CA glue. I put both trucks on wheels and immediately glued them with a typical quick drying thin plastic glue. As you can see, for the trucks to stick well I also use an eraser. On the drive and idler wheels I helped myself with tweezers to arrange the links properly. This is the case with plastic trucks. On the one hand we will save money by using what the producer has prepared, and on the other hand we will spend more time arranging them on the model. In the case of additional sets such as fuel, master club or resin, this problem disappears, but our wallet will feel it for sure. And building such sets take a lot of time than the plastic ones. It all depends on the individual approach to the topic. As you know, these few Jagdtigers with Porsche chassis were wearing Zimmerit. Let's agree that I don't make any specific copy on my model, so I won't analyze a few photos available on which you can see this vehicle. I just built a model and try to have a good time. So I will be using the Atak Model product for the Zimmerit. I haven't seen anyone on YouTube yet show how to work with this stuff, so I will spend the next few minutes to show you how easy and fairly quick you can get interesting results. Of course, it's prepared for a specific model. It's always written on the label, so there is no doubt. A thin sheet of resin and additional castings of more complex parts are included. Now, based on a few elements of this vehicle, you will be able to see how this product works. There are several important factors for a good effect. First, you need to cut the elements out of the sheet. Some have more material and you need to fit the part well to the model before sticking. Secondly, you need to use 2 different adhesives for gluing. I do the basic assembly with a plastic glue and only after it's dry I fill the gaps with CA glue. I do this mainly on the edges. Thirdly, you can sand the places where the Zimmerit sticks to the model as well as the inside of each element, which will increase adhesion. Fourth, When the Zimmerit is well glued, it's worth checking all the edges, whether the individual elements stick together well and whether they don't protrude too much beyond the edge of the plastic parts. By the way, the fender connections needed a small correction because they were too flat. Fifth, it's worth doing some damage to this coating. It's quite simple. I always use a hobby knife, a small drill and tweezers for this. The more diverse the splinters, the better they will look. It's easiest to remove fragments of resin where the glue has not reached, but even if we take care of a firmly glued piece, some traces will remain on the surface of the model, which are best used as the remains of Zimmerit and then paint them properly. Sixth, try to work with small pieces to control the drying process of the glue. As this is my habit in each episode, I have to say what has to be said. So if this is your first time here, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It would be nice if you could leave a like and comment and also take a look at my other videos. If you are interested in what I do, you can also check my Patreon account where you will find even more interesting materials. This is the place in the net where I publish the most right now. Just for patrons, I prepare reports on daily work, articles, ask for their opinion and show films earlier than on the official YouTube channel. In addition, there are a few other interesting perks of being a patron, but you can see for yourself. I think you won't be disappointed and you will see what other projects I do from those shown on YouTube. So please consider joining to this superb group. You can find the link in the description of this movie. I know it's annoying that in every episode I'm talking about the same thing, but if I don't say it, no one will do it for me. Be understanding and imagine standing on my side to see how much work it takes to get a movie like this one online. I don't record in an hour, I don't use a phone for it, and I bought the software to edit the film with my own hard-earned money. Of course, I'm not saying this to make you feel that I have a problem with it, but I'm explaining why I am trying to encourage others to support me in this work. I would like to do it as a full-time job, but it will only be possible if I can support my family making it. This is a simple dependence, but at the same time the key to further progress. Yeah, that's all. As I said, doing Zimmerit damage is easy and quite quick, but you have to plan where they are to be beforehand, because you won't be able to make any corrections. Try to conclude what could have caused the damages, check the photos where the Zimmerit fell off most often and use different tools to create various shapes. The Zimmerit is already well glued, so I can now check how many spatter I have made and how they look on the model. The easiest way at this stage is to paint them in a contrasting color. After a while everything will be completely different and we will be able to judge whether we did a good job or not. The cutting marks mustn't be missing. Of course I made them with well-known method, cutting them with a knife and then softening the plastic with glue. Irregular cuts look best here and there with deeper traces of course. But the truth is that when we look at the photos of real vehicles, this effect is so scaled up in our models. And now everyone should answer the question whether it's worth doing it or not. The set includes a small plate with nets for the engine deck. The look of the weave is quite okay, the dimensions are also so we can prepare the elements for sticking. I used quite a little glue for this. The most important thing is not to clog the mesh because it will look really ugly. Of course the net will be slightly damaged by the crew working on it. It's enough to bend its surface very gently. Too much pressure may detach the component from the model. Additionally, we make minor damage with the tip of the knife, tearing the net. Now it's time for some extras. Using the T-Rex set I replaced the extinguisher and more precisely the handle itself, because the extinguisher will be in a different place. These items are extremely accurate, but you do need to be very gentle when cutting and cleaning. I replaced the handles with wire ones. A good bending machine will undoubtedly help to bend the wires properly, and we will avoid sanding plastic parts, which is not always successful. Please note that I also changed the electric cable for the Bosch lamp. Takom has prepared the tools ready for assembly with handles already added to each item. However, if you have a set with separate buckles, it's worth replacing them because they will look much better. I exchanged the front and rear shackles for Aber set. This required drilling the appropriate holes. The extra links on the sides required a bit of work, as it was necessary to remove some pieces of plastic, drill holes where they should be and add pins. All this to make both sides look interesting, so the standard hanging of the links wasn't a good solution in my opinion. I think it looks pretty interesting now. Of course, this is also due to the fact that in a moment I will add other elements there which will be complemented by this arrangement. Almost all King Tiger and Jagdtiger models share the same weakness. There are handles and elements of the ramrod. That's why I always try to replace them with photo-etched or printed elements. For this model I have a kit from Aber. The whole set is easy to build and shouldn't cause any major problems. I definitely recommend it for replacement on these models. You probably know that Eureka XXL produces the best ropes in the world and I use them in all my models. Here too, plastic ropes will be replaced with metal ones. I will only use parts from the model to measure the length. You will see more about them and about painting soon in separate video. The right arrangement on the model can be crucial to catch the viewer's interest. The standard arrangement of the ropes in the holders is boring, so it probably doesn't surprise you that this rarely happens on my models. Usually the ropes have a role to play. All ropes have been glued to the model and will be painted on the model. The upper metal barrel consists of two parts that need to be screwed together tightly. I sanded it gently and mounted it in a shortened plastic barrel. Of course, it turned out that its length had to be modified, so I added a piece of masking tape as a distance. And now I could safely glue the whole thing together. Earlier I decided to use the support and the barrel would be permanently installed in it. After its minor modification I dry mounted it in the hinges and set up the entire barrel assembly with the cover. If anyone would like to ask why I didn't make the casting texture on the cover, I explain it. The plastic part was pretty well done and the surface looked good enough. Adding unnecessary work is not my favorite activity, so I gave up such preparation of this part. Time is money. Before I started working with weld seams, I completed the bolts that I had cut off on the rear door of the fighting compartment, as it would take too long to clean them. It was easier to get rid of them and add new ones. I used green stuff to do the weld seams. After mixing the two ingredients I cut off small pieces and prepared sausages or whatever you call it to be placed on the model. In some places I first cut the surface a little with a knife so that the mass stuck to the surface better. After arranging it I picked up a self-made tool and formed C-shaped welds. It's not a difficult task and it's worth doing it because very often or even always producers leave this detail outside of the box and we have to deal with it ourselves. Of course I'm talking about welding small elements and not about welds connecting the main armor plates. I was planning to make a tarp for the roof of the fighting compartment, but it turned out that the green stuff I have was a shitty piece of green stuff. When I was doing the welds I didn't notice it, but after mixing and rolling it out, it turned out that both components don't mix well enough, and on the surface you can see large pieces of yellow mass. I was sure that the primer and paint wouldn't cover it, so I decided that everything was flying to the trash bin. For this I will start a new episode that you will see in next week. Thank you for watching the model work today. Apart from the addition of resin Zimmerit, it was generally nothing new to those who know my channel longer. Even so, I hope that someone will find it useful. As I said before, if you like what I do, subscribe to the channel, give me a like and write a comment. It would be great if you share this material on your social media, because maybe your friends don't know about coldemonspl. This will be definitely good for humanity and especially for me if you help me to promote my works. For now, remember to check out my Patreon and join the club. That's all for today, see you next time, cheers!